spotted bass, they put on a lot of weight and do a lot of eating. Wintertime fishing is probably some of the best on Lanier. I think any of the spotted bass lakes. It's the time of year they put on a lot of weight. Fish get big, eat a lot of bait, a lot of shad, a lot of herring. They also eat a lot of crawfish during the wintertime. So it's a good time to potentially catch your biggest one, personal best. A lot of those are going to happen between late November, March, April. So it's a time of year where you have the lake to yourself. There's a lot of different patterns going on. We're going to get out here today, see if we can find a few. Should be biting. I don't know. Sometimes they get less than 5 feet this time of year. Many times they can be 40, 50 feet, even deeper. Kind of explore around, see what we can figure out. Looks like we got some rain to deal with though. It's all right. I like a little bit of weather. Sunny days, everybody's out. So cloudy days, you usually have it to yourself. Let's go see what we can do. It's kind of early December. Weather's still pretty mild. It's water's around 60, high 50s. So you still have a lot of bites going on. And I know you hear myself say that in fishing reports, and you may hear other guys in their reports say that. If you want to find a shallow bite, you most certainly can find one. You can just about find one here year round. Is it always the best way to win a tournament or catch the biggest fish? Not always, but sometimes it is. The most consistent way I feel like to catch fish right now of all sizes is probably going to be your mid-range to deeper kind of stuff. So, and that will continue to be more and more the case as it gets colder on and throughout January and February. So deeper is where most of your fish are going to congregate. It's the same thing in the summer. So any of you guys that are out drop shotting in the summertime, you know the deal. That's where the big groups of fish are. So anytime you're on Lanier, any of these herring lakes, 25 foot is usually a good general rule of thumb as to where to find groups of fish and to find bait. So we're going to talk about a couple of different baits and a couple of different ways that you can find them and have some success over Christmas break. If you get a chance to fish when you're out here, I'd encourage you to take advantage of it. It's the time of year where you can catch really big fish. Most of the time you have the lake to yourself. That's the cool thing. You don't have to deal with the big wakeboard boats and the cruisers and all that. Most of the time you don't. Bright sunny day you may, but hey, it's not nearly as bad as July. So I'm going to give you a couple of baits that are surefire way to catch them in the wintertime. So worm. Now the fatties is really short. You can see that right there. And I'm fishing on a 3/16 or an 1/8 ounce jig head most of the time. I'm fishing on a Z-Man's Shaky heads. Just a ball head, shaky head, which got a little bit of a collar there that helps hold the Elastec up. That worm is the perfect wintertime bait. Short, it's compact, but it's bulky enough to where I can feel it really well out in deep water. Using variations of green pumpkin. This is green pumpkin blue right here. It's always a fish catcher, and I tend to throw it most often in the wintertime. It's got a little hook slot on the bottom, so the shaky head tucks up real nice in there. I leave my point just inside the plastic because I don't want it sticking out. Don't want to get snagged up if I'm fishing it out in the deep timber. Now the other bait that I throw most in the wintertime is a football jig. I like to fish it as well, and it's very versatile. I can fish it again. I can fish it shallow to deep. I've been using this year since it came out the cross-eye football jig. A football jig because again it's very versatile, but the cool thing about this one is the hook is set back really far. That is so critical when you're fishing around spotted bass. They're notorious for picking up the tail end of it. You may notice that I've got this tiny little TRD crawl in there. Another reason why I've got this small trailer, it's got a very realistic look, but it doesn't hang really far back away from the hook. The spotted bass is notorious for grabbing back here. So if I've got a trailer that's sitting further back, all the time they'll grab a hold of that, drop it. So having this compact setup here with a football jig with a hook that extends further back than most, you're gonna get more bites and get more solid hookups with this. Another thing about the cross-eye football jig, hey, David Walker designed it, and he's probably one of the best jig fishermen on planet Earth. So whatever he says about a jig is good enough for me. But see the little weed guard there? It's different. It's got a little dual plastic style weed guard. It's different than your traditional fiber guards that you've probably seen on other jigs. The cool thing about that dual guard is that with a fiber guard, traditional one, over time those things get all spread out and all over the place. Some are stiff, some are too weak, and this one right here is perfect. It comes through wood. If you're fishing around brush, you're fishing around the deep timber, you don't have any issues with that. It'll come right through just fine. Big thing is though, is it's soft enough to where it'll you know, allow you to hook the fish really well. Couldn't find the right word to use there. It will, you know, it doesn't interfere with your hookups. So your go-to, and I promise you, if you spend time with those two, no matter what depth range you're in, you're gonna catch more fish and you'll have better luck when you're out there on the water in the wintertime. So get out there, enjoy it. Many times you got the lake to yourself. We talk about this in seminars, talk about it on client trips. When you're on these type of lakes, be aware of the weather, how it changes on the fly. The bite can change with that weather at any given moment. So if you get a break in the clouds, sun pops out all of a sudden in a cloudy day, boom, you might want to be on the move because things can happen in a hurry. So those are the little things that can be the deciding factor between having a 16 or 18 pound day versus having a 13 or 14 pound day. You know, those quick adjustments on the fly, that's the stuff that really matters the most. It's not always your bait and your color and your knot and your line size. That stuff is really important, but being aware on the water, looking for your visual clues. Hey, I see birds over there in that ditch. That's where you need to be. Sun's popped out. I found some fish earlier this morning. I saw them on my graph. The sun popped out, but I can't catch them. Sun's out. I maybe said too much there. Go right over there. The sun's out. The weather's changed. Those fish might more than likely will be biting now. So be alert. Pay attention. You'll catch more fish, I promise you. So get out there, be safe, have fun, good luck. Hey, and Merry Christmas.